Hello, and today we're going to talk about why Paramount Global is currently undervalued. The current trading price I actually think is different. Currently $14.56, market cap of $9,600,000,000. So let's talk about that. Why is it undervalued? First, why is it priced the way it is? Let's just look about revenue growth and net income. So if you look at revenue growth from the past 10 years has been pretty good. It's up from 26 billion to 30 billion. But if you actually look at this current year, it is actually lost both quarters by each $100 million. No help from the fact that Q2 Top Gun Maverick came out, so that was a huge increase in revenue for 2022 compared to 2023. But then let's also look at net income. Negative 290, negative $1 billion, one. Now this is actually more operating. This is more important than these discontinued operations. Those are kind of irrelevant. So we actually look at these. But that is all primarily due to these write-off of programming charges. That's what this category is. Programming charges. So these are just write-offs. As Paramount Pictures is starting to transition into a direct-to-consumer model, they're writing off a lot of their assets as just we're not dealing with those anymore. So that's where these big losses really come from. So these aren't going to continue for the next 10 years. These are one-time expenses. Who knows? But overall, revenue growth has been consistent. Another big problem, I guess you could say, is TV media has been going down, but that's just a transition in the market. The fact that no one really watches TV anymore. People would honestly rather stream, and that's why. So that's being offset heavily by this direct-to-consumer revenue. So if we actually just talk, so another interesting thing, free cash flow for the past 10 years is $18 billion. So that's 8 billion or 9 billion more than what the current trading price is. Doesn't mean they're going to make another 18 billion in the next 10 years, but if they did, I mean, they've done it before, chance they do it again. I mean, 10 years to make your money back plus 8 billion, that's kind of nuts. Current balance sheet. ROIC is inaccurate. I don't really look at that. And then this year I couldn't consolidate Viacom and CBS, that's why it's yellow. But if we look at current year balance sheet, 22 billion shareholders equity. Now that's interesting. What is the chance that Paramount defaults? Well, they have $1.7 billion in cash. Current assets outdo current liabilities by 2 billion. That's good. They also have 3 billion, or I think maybe 3.5 billion in a credit facility. They also issued some new debt. So I think overall they're pretty good to handle debt. But just for sake of conversation, if a company was going to buy Paramount, how much would they really pay for it? I mean, would it really default, go bankrupt, or would it most likely get bought out as the price continues to go down? I think it probably most likely get bought out because it has a lot of assets. And let's look at some of those. What does it actually own? It owns all this. CBS, Showtime. I mean, CBS has the rights to a lot of. CBS has the right to stream the Super Bowl and NFL, South Park. That's huge. Comedy Central is very funny. MTV used to be bigger. I don't know too much. Nickelodeon, that's huge. SpongeBob, lots of great shows. I think Nickelodeon has 8 out of the 10 top kid shows right now. That's a huge asset. They also have $2 billion in intangible, like FCC licenses, $2 billion in that. So really, like, what are all their movies worth? What is their streaming platform worth? What is their infrastructure worth? So how much would a company want to pay for Paramount to buy them out? I'd probably say around 15. Probably around 15, maybe 13, pretty conservatively. They have a lot of great assets, and you're getting $22 billion in shareholders' equity for $10 billion, or maybe 15, or maybe 22. I doubt that. Probably 15, maybe 13 billion if it was going to get bought out by a company. Management. This is important. If they're going to go back to making a bunch of money, what's their management looking like? I mean, they had a bunch of people on the website. They're like 25 people, but did a quick search of 5 of them. All of them went to Ivy League schools. All of them are extremely experienced, especially the CEO. He's been 26 years at Paramount. That's kind of nuts. That's a very long time to be at a company. Discounted cash flow. I mean, this is just, I don't think the number that this generates is really important at all, but let's just use it as a rough example of what you would really pay for this company. Free cash flow past, I mean, this year, currently down $600 million in free cash flow. So they lost $600 million, which isn't great. Isn't great at all. Last year, they lost 130, 500. But this is a transitional period. That's what you got to remember. They're heavily investing in their infrastructure, heavily investing in their direct-to-consumer, heavily investing in, or, I mean, really transitioning since the merger in 2019 of Viacom, CBS. I mean, big company, they got to transition. So they start making money again. I mean, 2014, $3 billion, $3 billion, $3 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion. Let's say they start making $1 billion a year again, just for fun. Very conservative. Another $1 billion a year. And they grow 1%. I mean, the company was worth $14 billion. That makes it like, that's a little inaccurate. But what I'm trying to get at is, I mean, currently your margin of safety is like probably closer to like 28%. Because it's not really, I mean, it's just actually just this. Let's just say it's trading for 10. Yeah, perfect. 28. What? 28. Yeah, 28% margin of safety. They start generating $1 billion a year again, 1%. I mean, that makes it at the end of like 100 years. It's kind of right. Value rate, $4 billion a year. I mean, that wouldn't even mean they adjusted for inflation. I mean, they're not even gaining enough money to beat inflation. So if let's say inflation is like 2%, they increase their money 2%. I don't know. It's more. But let's say they actually start making $3 billion again. Now it's $45 billion net present value. Now let's say they start making $1.5 billion again, $22 billion. Say they make $2 billion on average. Oh, oops, not the right spot. Let's just say they start making $2 billion, $30 billion. I mean, I think the company can easily start becoming profitable again once this transitional period is over and they get set up. I mean, Paramount Plus has only been around for 2 years. They've had great subscriber growth. The TV media segment will probably continue to decrease, but they have a lot of great assets. If we actually look at this, Netflix, they have this, the US, and if we look at Paramount, they have Paramount Plus and Pluto, so 1.9%. Netflix is sitting at 8. YouTube at 8. That's a free platform though. Disney is sitting at 5. Prime 3. But then I think Warner is 5, 6. I don't know who owns Tubi. I'm not sure about that. But if we look at the competition, I mean, Paramount has 61 million subscribers. Netflix 200. I mean, they're most profitable. And then Disney 136 between the both. And then HBO Max 95. And then these are the average prices people actually pay. Paramount's actually on the higher end, but Hulu is actually more expensive than both. Disney Plus quite cheap, but if we look at Disney Plus, also, this is specifically the direct-to-consumer segment, lost 512 million, Paramount 400, HBO Max 3 million. So a lot of these companies are transitioning, losing some money as they start to invest. I mean, HBO Max switched to Max, and then was HBO Max. Now it's Max. So they keep transitioning and changing. Disney Plus probably just has to do with Hulu and Disney problems, I would assume. I'm not quite sure. And then Netflix, they're just making a bunch of money. they have a heck of a ton of subscribers, and they've been in the business for a while, so they're set up good. They're set up good. But when we really think about Netflix, I mean, the movies they actually come out with, the Netflix originals, are kind of crap, except for maybe Squid Games and some other things. But Paramount Plus has a better, or Paramount or CBS, Viacom, they have a better track record of making good movies. You know, Top Guns, and I think they even own some Indiana Jones rights, even though that is Netflix. I mean Disney. I'm sorry. So yeah, I think overall, Paramount would probably be worth between 20 to 25 billion. If they do default, I don't think they will. I don't think they will. They have $3 billion in a credit facility. I just don't think they're going to default. Worst case scenario, I think, is share price goes down to like 8 billion, 7 billion, something like that, and then they just get bought out by another company for probably more than that. Just because, I mean, $2 billion just in FCC. I mean, they have rights to the NFL stuff. They got insane infrastructure. I mean, the company to buy it, I mean, it has to be worth at least more than 10 billion, probably around 15. That's what I would say. So, yeah, I think it's significantly undervalued. Should be worth way more. And the final cherry on top is Berkshire Hathaway owns 10% of the company, so that is also a good sign. So, anyways, Paramount Plus, I think it's definitely a value buy.